For the last several days, all we've been talking about is Alabama losing players. Is the dynasty over? Well, instead, they've recently added one. Former Florida defensive lineman Kelby Collins is headed back to the Yellowhammer State with 2 more years of eligibility, and he might be a perfect fit for what you want to run in Kane Womack's front seven. Let's break it all down. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson, and today we graded the Gardendale natives' recruitment and return to the state of Alabama. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification down below, and of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, link in the description. Follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Go to PrizePicks.com and use the promo code SECU at sign up to get a $50 instant play when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks is the #1 fantasy app for all college athletics, college basketball, college football. So whatever you see fit, go to PrizePicks.com, use the promo code SECU to get a $50 instant play with your first $5 plus lineup. Dave, I like this move. Home is where the heart lies. Sometimes at the end all be alls, you just want to get closer to where you grew up. You stay in the SEC, and there's a very good shot now with Jaheim Otis leaving, with multiple other players leaving. You could come in day one and be a proven starter for Kane Womack's front seven.
It's kind of the definition of a perfect kind of fit, marriage, whatever you want to call it. Again, I believe just on top of that, Alabama finished second in this conversation. I think Florida, I amped up the NIL kind of last minute. Alabama wasn't willing to match it. So he's very familiar with the capstone. I mean, he'd been there numerous times. But Alabama was the runner-up, very familiar with Freddie Roach, the Alabama defensive line coach. And as we saw there, the production was there, especially, I mean, he was a freshman, all SEC guy as a freshman. I mean, 23 total tackles, had a sack and a half. And you saw him like flashing. I mean, he moving inside, outside in that Austin Armstrong defense. And then you brought in Ron Roberts. He did lose his defensive line coach, Sean Spencer, who went to Texas A&M. And then now his new defensive line coach was Gerald Chapman, and they'll obviously be Freddie Roach now. So I don't have any intel on why he did not play as much his second year. Again, I don't think it was anything on him, like a bad thing. I think he just didn't play a lot. I mean, maybe he just got passed up, wasn't a fit with the defensive line coach. Again, did bring in a new DC who had the head coach's ear in Rod Roberts. So maybe that was it. But I think, like you mentioned, Bear, Alabama's losing some guys there on the defensive front across the board there. I mean, Tim Keenan could leave early. Yeah, Tim Smith will be gone. Damon Payne's already into their portal. So I know different position here, Jamarian Latham. But if there was something to take it away from this a little bit, Bear, that you could probably say, hey, maybe this is a little similar role here. LT Overton just proved that he came in from another SEC school like A&M, came in, didn't get a lot of run at A&M his last year there, came in and started at the bandit spot for Alabama. Very similar situation where the production level was not there in his second year for Kelby Collins, but I think with what Alabama's losing on that defensive line on the interior, they're going to need some bodies. Why not go get the Gardendale kid? I expect him to have somewhat of a very similar, like maybe not production, but the amount of reps he plays is LT Overton from a recent, like, using example standpoint. So I'm fired up for this take. Again, he has position versatility. He can play he has tape that proves it his freshman year. I went back and watched last night on the edge, the 5 tech, kind of a 4-eye, he could slide in and play a 3. So Kane Womack, Freddie Roach, they'll be fired up to put him in that swarm defense.
Top 100 player in the current transfer portal, number 10 defensive lineman according to 247 Sports. In 2 years with the Gators, he had 29 tackles, 3 sacks, tackle for loss, 15 quarterback hurries, a pass breakup, and a forced fumble. 6'4", 278 pounds. So he's got that frame that will allow you to be in interchangeable position, working from the outside, working as a defensive end, working sometimes inside as a 4-eye technique. I think the fact that he's going to be going and working with Kane Womack, the style of defense that they love to run with that bandit role, is going to really benefit him. More importantly, Alabama just adds defensive line depth. That's a critical error. Again, you have to be able to have, I think, trench play if you want to be successful. They've added in some really good players in the recruiting process. But again, this is a team that you want to see reach college football playoff in 2025. They don't want to wait a year to finally strike against Auburn, against LSU, against Ole Miss. They want to be still the same standard that they have been. LT Overton's status is going to be really interesting to follow. He has another year of eligibility. He could return, which may factor into the rep count for a guy like Kelby Collins. You also have Keon Keeley coming on in, the 5-star prospect. You still have Jordan Renaud potentially coming back. And then, of course, Lathan has a 6-year of eligibility. So this is a move that what I like from is the standpoint of, we add in depth, we add in a guy that fits our mold. He may only play 12 snaps a game, but the 12 snaps are going to be the most critical to our success when he is on the field. Every single one of them is going to count, and it's going to help us prevail ourselves into the conversation of being a college football playoff threat.
Yeah, I mean, this defensive line's good. I mean, they open up at Florida State. First game of the year, Florida State's going all in on the portal. Big year for Mike Norvell. They change offensive coordinators. Gus Malzahn. It's his first matchup against Alabama. But my point being, this Alabama defensive line may have to carry the load a little bit at the beginning. And I don't want to use the word scary, but a little questionable because look who they lose at the second level. They're losing Deontay Lawson. Jihad Campbell's probably going to go enter the draft. Justin Jefferson, the third guy, he's gone. JUCO kid, grad guy. They have some holes at that inside linebacker spot.
Yeah.
The defensive lines get to be real disruptive and probably be a little bit more productive right out of the gate until that second unit can really get going. That would be a concern there. But I think Kelby Collins, a good take. Again, I get the position versatility is what I get fired up about. Homegrown kid. You always love those guys who care about the university they're in, home state university. And again, I mean, there's proof of concept here. We saw it his first year. I think just a little bit of a coaching change, a little bit of a scheme change, just a tiny bit of tweak. Probably is why he didn't get as much run in his second year.
You feel good about where the cornerback position is now that you're going to, of course, bring back Jalen Mbakwe. You feel good about where you are when it comes to the safety position with Bray Hubbard. The linebacker spot is the next point of emphasis that I think you're going to have to see Kalen DeBoer and Courtney Morgan go after defensively. But again, you're bringing in depth. You have solid players that have proven experience in the SEC. That's a win in itself. Let's go ahead and grade the selection of Kelby Collins coming on back to the likes of Tuscaloosa, back to the Yellowhammer State. This is the grading scale. Dave, I'll let you break this on down pretty quickly. I have a good indication about where this could be. I may be a little bit higher than where you have a guy like Kelby Collins.
Yeah, I'm elite. So just a background real fast, like Cole said, because I don't want to be, we could talk about this for the whole take, but this is the grading scale I used when I worked in the personnel departments in the SEC. Got it Georgia. We created it over there. I brought it to Auburn, some other SEC schools, Texas A&M, but we didn't really use it over there. It's a conversation for another day. But this is the grading scale Oregon, Georgia really lock in on. Dan Lanning, Kirby Smart. And I think your portal grades, your college guys got to match the same grades. You got to be talking the same terminology when you're talking about your high school side of things and your portal side of things, just like the NFL does in their college scouting and pro scouting side of things. But elite, rare, me and Cole probably aren't going to give those out much. Like that's just rare dudes like Travis Hunter, Caleb Williams, Will Anderson, Jeremiah Smith. You can see, disregard all the A&M players up there, small old grading scale, but all league here for sure. Year one or year two SEC starter, has the talent to be an SEC contributor. Year one projects to be a future all conference player and a high NFL draft pick. Winnable plus. This is where you want 60 to 70% of your roster. If that's the case, you got a pretty good football team. Not an immediate SEC starter from a high school standpoint, but projects to be a reliable SEC starter at some point, likely in year 2 or 3. Could have a chance to be a first-year contributor in certain situations. Winnable minus. This is not a bad player. It's just you got to surround them with other good players for him to ultimately have success. Again, a lot of this is on the offensive and defensive line, so I'm glad we're talking about Kelby Collins here on the defensive front. This is where it kind of goes in with me as well. And then obviously the JAG, POI, those acronyms are just a guy, prospect of interest. We're probably not doing a video reaction for a guy. It's just a guy. And an SEC school is probably not taking guys that are just guys out of the portal, let's be honest. So for me, Bear, I'm going to go winnable minus really just because what's going to be around him. Again, that front seven, we all know in all kinds. It's not just an Alabama thing. It's all things. It's got to be a well-oiled machine. Guys got to be staying in their gap, and you got to have a linebacker come fill it. Again, I have some concerns about Alabama's second level after losing Lawson, Campbell, and Jefferson after this year. They lose some interior guys as well. I love the take, but I think as we stand right now, he's a winnable minus just because of what's around him. I think his ability just by himself, it could ultimately rise up to be a winnable plus. And I think ultimately in 2 years, it wouldn't shock me if he's all league. I think the ceiling for him, all league. I think floor, winnable minus. But as we stand right now, until I see who Alabama surrounds him with on the interior defensive line into that second level, I'm going to go winnable minus.
I go winnable plus because I think that you're going to need him to have a bigger role. I think that he is going to have to be a pretty significant contributor year one because I don't know what we're going to see at linebacker right now. I don't know what we're going to see at the Husky position. Devonta Smith just committed to Notre Dame. So that run defense is going to be taking a hit where a guy like Kelby Collins is going to have, I think, a much more substantial point of emphasis on this front seven. And more importantly, if he can be that guy from the get-go, then what does that do for the rest of your team? You take the emphasis and you put yourself in a grander position to be able to strike. You put yourself in a much more stable position to be able to make these type of moves to where you feel confident that your front seven is going to corral the box. and make a lot of defenders and make offensive have to win through the air. And again, I feel really confident where you come in the secondary of Alabama. It's that middle intermediate 7 to 12 yard range where linebackers have to live. You got to be able to bring in some guys. I say right now, because of that purpose alone, we don't know what the status is of LT Overton. We don't know what some of this depth purposes are right now, especially when it comes to proven commodities and experience. A guy like Kelby Collins, if he can come on in, learn this defense very quickly, he has a shot to be one of the better defensive linemen for Alabama in 2025.
No, yeah, I agree. He's got one of the more bare out of all these grades we've done so far, these SEC teams, one of the more the broad range of ceiling in Florida. And some of that's not even his own fault. I just think it's all who's surrounding him. And obviously Freddie Roach hanging around there in Tuscaloosa for familiarity.
So let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think of the grade of Kelby Collins? What do you think he will provide for Alabama in 2025 and beyond? Like, review, make sure you hit subscribe. Follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. At SEC Unfiltered, follow Dave at Mach 10 Sports, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Roll Tide, ladies and gentlemen. We got ourselves a defensive lineman coming back home to the great state of Alabama. Peace.